Goldilocks and the Three Bears. Once upon a time, there was a little girl named Goldilocks. One morning, Goldilocks went for a walk through the woods where she lived. In the distance, she spied a lovely little cottage that she'd never seen before. She was curious to know who lived there, so she walked up the path and knocked on the front door. But no one answered. "I'm sure no one would mind me going inside and having a look," thought Goldilocks. So she turned the handle and let herself in. When she got inside, she called out, "Hello, hello, is anybody in?" But no one answered. She was going to go out again, but just then she smelled a lovely smell. It was porridge. She followed her nose and saw on a table 1, 2, 3 bowls of porridge. She was feeling very hungry by now, and the porridge smelled very good. And so she thought, "I'm sure no one will notice if I just take 1 spoonful." She hopped onto the table and took a mouthful of porridge from the big bowl. "Ouch," she said, "this porridge is too hot. Maybe the porridge in the medium bowl will taste nicer." So she took a mouthful of porridge from the medium bowl. She said, "this porridge is too cold. Maybe the porridge in the small bowl will taste nicer." So she took a mouthful of porridge from the small bowl. She said, "this porridge is just right." It tasted so nice that Goldilocks took another bite and another bite until, oh dear, it was all gone. "Oops," said Goldilocks. "Oh well, there are 2 more bowls left. I'm sure they won't mind." After eating the porridge, Goldilocks felt quite full and thought she'd better sit down for a bit. She looked around the room and saw 1, 2, 3 chairs. There was a big chair, a medium chair, and a small chair. She decided to try the big chair first. But when she sat on it, she said, "Ouch! This chair is too hard. Maybe I should try the medium chair instead." But when she sat on that chair, she said, "Oh, this chair is too soft. Maybe I should try the small chair instead." When she sat on the small chair, she said, "This chair is just right." But it wasn't. It was too small for her, and suddenly it broke. "Oops," said Goldilocks. "Oh well, it was an accident, and there are 2 more chairs left. I'm sure they won't mind." When she picked herself up off the floor, she saw a staircase in the corner of the room. "I wonder where they go to," she thought. Well, Goldilocks decided to find out, and she started to climb the staircase. At the top of the stairs was a room with 1, 2, 3 beds in it. There was a big bed, a medium bed, and a small bed. Now Goldilocks was feeling quite tired from all her walking in the woods that morning and decided to have a little nap. First she tried the big bed. "Ouch," she said, "this bed is too hard. I can't sleep on that." So she decided to try the medium bed. She said, "this bed is too soft. I can't sleep on that." So she decided to try the small bed. "This bed is just right." And Goldilocks soon fell fast asleep. Now the little cottage in the middle of the wood actually belonged to a family of 3 bears. There was Daddy Bear, Mommy Bear and Baby Bear. Every day the bears would make their porridge, put it in their 3 bowls and then go for a little walk in the woods whilst the porridge cooled down. That morning, when they got back to their cottage, they noticed that the front door was open. They went inside to take a look. The 3 bears walked over to their table and looked into their bowls. Daddy Bear looked in his big bowl and said in a gruff voice, "Who's been eating my porridge?" Mommy Bear looked into her medium bowl and said in a quieter voice, "And who's been eating my porridge?" Baby Bear looked into his small empty bowl and said in a tiny voice, "And who's been eating my porridge? And look, they've eaten it all up!" And he was quite upset. The bears looked around to see if anyone was in their house, and they looked at their chairs. Daddy Bear said in a gruff voice, "Who's been sitting in my chair?" Mommy Bear looked at her chair and said in a quieter voice, "And who's been sitting in my chair?" Baby Bear looked at his broken chair and said in a tiny voice, "And who's been sitting in my chair? And look, they've broken it to pieces!" And he was even more upset. The 3 bears went upstairs. Daddy Bear looked at his big bed and said in a big gruff voice, "Who's been sleeping in my bed?" Mommy Bear looked at her medium bed and said in a quieter voice, "And who's been sleeping in my bed?" Baby Bear looked at his small bed and said in a tiny voice, "And who's been sleeping in my bed? And look, they're still in it!" And he was very upset indeed. The 3 bears started to growl, which woke Goldilocks up. She looked at the 3 bears staring down at her and jumped out of the bed. "Ah! Bears!" She ran down the stairs, out of the door and into the wood as quick as she could, all the way home. Daddy Bear fixed Baby Bear's chair and Mummy Bear made Baby Bear's bed. And then they all sat down to eat some lovely fresh porridge. And they never saw Goldilocks again. The end.